So here we have an HMV Stereomaster 2411, which is exactly the same as a 2412. The only difference is that the 2412 is fitted with a stereo decoder for the radio. Thus the stereo transmission light will light up. This is the mono version, radio wise, and you can convert it with adding the board. Well, you could do about 1971. So this is the mono version. Here we have a BSR, is it a UA70 turntable? And just see whether we can just get that in the picture a little bit better. Because the first thing we're going to do is strip down the turntable and lubricate it. This is one that this Stereomaster. Oh yeah, and it's got that lovely damage where it's actually lifted the veneer. It's had the ubiquitous vase on there, hasn't it? Now our main business is in church pipe organ restoration, and I'm hoping we'll be able to inject PVA adhesive into that, clamp it, and then sand down the top and refrench polish it. So we'll see. In the meantime, I want the electronics to work. So the first thing we need to do is remove the little finisher. There we go. Still got the plastic on that. Won't have now. Underneath there is a circlip. This is virtually seized. Did I say we bought this off for a tenner off eBay? And I bought it specially to do this YouTube video. Now we need to be able to get the centre spindle out. Managed to do that. Sometimes you've got to apply heat with a hairdryer, and then we need to get the platter off, and sometimes we need to apply heat to those. And what we do, I don't need to do it in this case because I feel it's going to come on. Soldering iron, plonk it down the centre hole, and after about 4 minutes the nasty greases which have been there for the last 35-40 years will hopefully have melted a bit. But we're going to do alright on this one because it is moving. So I'm being careful and pulling it upwards. There we are, platter's off. Right, what do we need to do next? Well, first of all, the auto mechanism cam, take the circlip off that. And again, this will pull upwards. Sometimes we have to apply heat to that, and this is going to be one of those occasions. Secondly, we're going to take off the idler wheel. And again, there's a circlip. Getting quite a collection of circlips. There's a fibre washer on the top. And there's normally a fibre washer on the bottom. It's stuck to the bottom. So instead of starting with the auto mechanism cam, we'll start with the idler. Isopropyl alcohol. You could use methylated spirits. And I'm going to clean the stepped motor wheel. That is the motor spindle. Get some muck off that. I'm going to clean the spindle which the idler's just come off. And we're going to clean the idler. And you see there's quite some muck coming off that. As you can see, we've got the soldering iron on that can. I could get the hairdryer on it, or even one of those paint stripping type of things you can get to heat it up. See if we can do it with that. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to use the WD-40. We normally use 3-in-1 household oil. I'm going to use the WD-40. I can't be bothered to go across to the workshop, which is 100 yards away, to get the oil. It's January and it's cold. So what we're going to do is, there's the idler wheel. I've put my finger on that. I've put my finger so that doesn't go through. I'm going to apply that with the applicator onto there. Soak up that excess. Don't want it on the rubber wheel. And with that excess, I'm just going to touch that on its little spindle there, and put the thrust washer back and the idler back, and that spins quite freely, and the top washer back, and that back. And I've got some of that on the top, so again with the isopropyl alcohol, just clean that off. Whilst we're at it, I'm going to clean the inside of the platter. As well. So, have we got enough heat on there to start moving that? And the answer is we've got some heat on there and it started to move. Whilst that happens, this is the trigger for the auto stop. Sometimes you come up to the point in a record, the stylus is on the record, it gets to within an inch of the end and it just skips because it's tight against this. Now, and this time this is not tight, but we're still going to clean it and lubricate it. Pop that circlip off without holding the soldering iron, hopefully. Add another circlip to the collection. We'll just pop that off. There we go. Once again, we'll clean that spindle. And once again we'll apply some lubricant. And this time I want it to get between those two leaves, because I want that to be free. And it is. You can hear it quite free. We may as well pop that back on. There we go, and that's, as you can see, quite free. Let's see whether we've had enough heat on there yet. Yep. Obviously that can be very hot if you've put a lot of heat on it. And what we've got is the nasty old grease, which is gumming it all up. And I'm using the WD-40 to dissolve it. That's what we normally do with WD-40, then we normally would apply a thin layer of oil. Just look at that, which has come off. So just put that to one side. clean that centre spindle with the WD-40. What would you call that? The spigot, which goes in the track of that. Now the centre bearing, you've got a ball bearing race. Put the lubricant on there. We're going to put lubricant in the centre. Clean the grease off that washer. Pop that back on. I'll just apply some more of that and run it round and reassemble. Sometimes getting that in the track can be a bit of a swine of a job. You can end up having to put a piece of a thin string between the and kind of pull it as you put it back together. Bit of a faff. So that's that done. Also going to clean the centre spindle. I'm going to use the WD-40 again. And again, we'd normally use the household oil, but this is fine. Now it's sensible to clean, whilst you've got the platter off, it's sensible to clean the surround. We use a foam cleanser, which is an industrial one. You notice I've kept the mechanism locked down so the screws are in the up position. See the muck coming off that. Let's make a start on the rest of it. Do a better job of that side of it later. That's a bit tight, so I'm going to once again put some on there. Just rub that up and down. It's probably not been used for donkey's years. Right. So we've got the idler back on. I'm good at getting lubricant on there, aren't I? We've got that now working. I'm going to put the platter back on. Oh, not before I've cleaned it. Oh, this has still got the plastic on as well. There we are, brand new under there. It's like leaving the plastic on a new car, isn't it? Oh, I'll just make sure we've lubricated the centre of that. Right, so I'm without putting any power to it, I'm just going to put the mechanism into reject, and there we go. And we'll just move it towards the end of the record. And of course it's going to go back, isn't it, until I put the overarm in position. There's no stylus in this at the moment, by the way. ST14, I seem to recall I took out. Well, as you can see, that's now freely moving. And before we started it, it was solid, wasn't it? Now, I don't want to power this up yet because we do a certain procedure on the amplifier. I'm just going to put the centre and the circlip to one side. No, I'll tell you what, we'll put the circlip back on, because when I tip this on its side, chances are that's going to pop back off again. There we go. So the plan now, I'm going to remove the amplifier. I'm also going to trip off over the camera's tripod. Right, we need to pull the knobs off. They're all the same. They'll go through the company dishwasher. May as well keep those plastic thingies. They can go through the company dishwasher too. Chassis is held in with these Phillips screws. And then what we're going to do is to turn it on its side, take the bottom off and disconnect some of the wiring. So we'll do that in another video. But that's the lubrication of the turntable. I'm going to set it back up in another video, because we're going to use a pressure gauge to make sure we've got the correct tracking pressure. It wants to be less than 4 grams, hopefully about 2.2. And we're going to be using a stylus microscope to examine the stylus which I took out earlier. And the stylus is the ST14 which I mentioned. So thanks for watching, and join me on the next video where we sort out the amplifier.